Hello, I'm Warren Fay. I'm a folklorist and performer. One of the most intriguing areas of Australia's history is the bushranging period. During the gold rush days of the 1850s and 60s, we had quite a lot of bushrangers hit the road to bail up, as they used to say. One of the most successful, or probably the most successful, was a man called Frank Gardner, or he referred to himself as the Darkie because he had some Aboriginal blood in him. His name was really Frank Christie, and he changed his name because he was that sort of character. He also called himself the Prince of all Toby Men. Basically, he was a highwayman who saw himself in the guise of Robin Hood, robbing from the poor and the rich and giving to the poor. Not that he gave much away, from what I hear. I did hear one story where he and his gang, they took over a pub on the outskirts of Bathurst, and Gardner waltzed in. They took all the money from all the people in the bar, their watches, their jewellery, etc., and then they turned around and they said, "I suppose you'd all like a drink now." So they shouted everybody in the bar and paid for it to the landlady, a beer or a wine or whatever they were drinking. And one young bloke reckoned he'd have a go at Gardner, so he said, "Oh, Mr. Gardner," he said, "I really needed that money because I'm looking for a wife." And Gardner said, "Oh, is that true, is he? You are looking for a wife?" And he said, "Yes." He said, "Oh, not really." He said, "I'll tell you what I'd like." He said, "See that cove down the end of the bar?" He pointed to some man down the end of the bar. He said, "He's a salesman and he's got licorice." And Gardner goes, "Licorice?" And he says, "Yeah." And he says to the man, "You got licorice?" And the bloke says, "Yes, I've got licorice. I'm a salesman." He said, "Well, you go and get it." So he sent one of the gang members with this character up to the room. He brought back this huge box of licorice. Gardner then instructed him to give some licorice to everybody in the bar. And then he bought them all another drink. Didn't give their money back. Give them all another drink, and then he rode off into the sunset. Eventually, I said Gardner was successful. He was very successful. If you counted the money that he got away with, it would be it'd be well in the millions in today's money. And eventually, he was caught. They said he was dobbed in by his girlfriend, Catherine Brown, and but I can't see that myself because she's the one that, when he did get arrested and finally sentenced in New South Wales to 32 years, she raised a campaign to get him freed. And there were people with petitions and so forth. Eventually they let him go on the proviso that he leaves the country. So Gardner actually left the country, went to the Californian goldfields where he opened up in San Francisco. He opened up a bar and was eventually shot during a game of cards. One of the songs that came out of this incident was a song about Frank Gardner being caught and the trial. And it mentions some of the other bushrangers at the time. Ben Hall, who was in Gardner's gang. It also mentions Gilbert and Johnny Vane. Frank Gardner, he is caught at last and lies in Sydney jail for wounding Sergeant Middleton and robbing the Mudgee mail, for plundering of the gold escort the Carcoar mail as well. Oh, it was for gold he made so bold and not so long ago. Oh, his daring deed surprised them all throughout our Sydney town. He gave a call unto his friends and quickly raised a band. Kind fortune always favoured him until this time of late, when Burke and Brave O'Neilly too met with their dreadful fate. fight. Young Johnny Vane surrendered, Ben Hall's received some wounds, and as for Johnny Gilbert, Tudbyne along was found. Alone he was, he'd lost his horse, 3 troopers coming to sight. Well, he fought the 3 most manfully, got slaughtered in the fight. Oh, farewell, adieu to outlaw Frank, he was the poor man's friend. The government has secured him, its laws he did offend. And as he boldly stood his trial, he answered with one breath, oh, do what you will, you can but kill, I've got no fear of death. Fresh charges bore against him from neighbours near and far. Day after day they escorted from the bar. And now the trial is over, the sentence it's been passed. Oh, reprieving from the gallows, curse this highwayman at last. Oh, when lives you take are worn and boys, a woman never trust. She will turn round, I will be bound, Queen's evidence of the first. For 32 years he's cursed a slave all for the crown. And I bet that he does rue the day he first met Catherine Brown. Another song that came out of the Gardner incident was supposedly written by Gardner. Gardner had a habit of writing to the newspapers and saying, I'm innocent, or I'm really a good man, not a bad man. And like many of the bushrangers, he believed that he'd been forced into this by police persecution. But the reality is that he did stick up a lot of mail coaches, especially at Eugowra Rocks. He got away with this huge fortune. He buried it somewhere in the hills around Eugowra. And the story goes that when Gardner eventually did move to America, he lived there quite well and married and had 2 sons. And around the turn of the 19th century, about 1900, around the time we were going to Federation, I understand that 2 young American boys arrived in Brisbane, made their way down to New South Wales, bought some shovels, maps, and a week later returned to America, no doubt with big smiles on their faces. But this little ditty was supposedly written by Gardner, so we don't know. It's all about bold Frank Gardner with the devil in his eye. Oh, he said there's work before us, lads, we'll either do or die. So blacken up your faces, as dark as any night, and it's over by your Eugowra Rocks, we'll either live or die. You can sing of Johnny Gilbert, Dan Morgan or Ben Hall, but the bold and the reckless Gardner is the one to beat 'em all. We'll stop the orange escort with powder and with gun. We'll shoot the coach to pieces and we'll make the troopers run. We'll lift the diggers' money, we'll plunder all their gold. So mind your guns are killers now, me comrades true and bold. And off then goes the rifles, the battle has begun. And the troopers started running now all in the setting sun. They've lifted all the money, they've plundered all that gold, and they're running from Eugowra Rocks encumbering their fold. You can sing of Johnny Gilbert, Dan Morgan or Ben Hall, but the bold and the reckless Gardner is the one to beat 'em all. And with a shout of laughter they left that sorry place, and then they started shouting out, we've won the steeplechase. And Gardner, the leader, he shouts out hip hooray. Well, I think we've won our fortunes at Eugowra Rocks today. You can sing of Johnny Gilbert,